Don't take shortcuts when weaving a ribbon through word art. It only takes a few extra minutes to make the weave look real and beautiful. For this tutorial, you will need a curly ribbon and a 3D word art. Word art that is 2D, such as type, stamps, or doodles, will not work for this lesson unless you turn them into stickers. Also, if you create a word art from an alpha, as I did here, then you'll need to merge all the layers of the word art into one layer. To follow along with this tutorial exactly, in the description for this video, you will find a download link for the elements I'm using. The download also includes a time-saving custom shadow action, as well as a PDF manual and other helpful links. And one last thing before we get started, I'll be filming this tutorial in expert mode of Photoshop Elements, but the instructions are exactly the same if you are using Adobe Photoshop. Okay, let's get started. Begin by creating a new 12 by 12 inch document at 300 pixels per inch with a white background, and then press the letter D to reset the color chips to the default of black over white. Next, you'll want to add a word art and a curly ribbon to the document. If you need more specific instructions on how to do that, consult the manual. Using the Move tool, click and drag the ribbon to a position you like. For the greatest ease and success, try to avoid placing any ribbon intersections over the word art. In this arrangement, these two intersections are clear of the word art, but this intersection in the middle is not. We'll talk about that in just a second. Before starting the weaving process, you first need to decide which parts of the ribbon will be above the word art and which parts of the ribbon will be below the word art. Most of that decision, however, will be determined by the natural highlights and shadows in the ribbon itself. For example, the places where the ribbon is coming off the document and toward you will generally be lighter or highlighted. The highlighted areas of the ribbon should always be over top of the word art. The places where the ribbon is sitting on the document or moving away from you will generally be darker or shadowed. The shadowed areas of the ribbon can be behind the word art or in front of it. For this tutorial, I'll choose to place these two shadowed areas of the ribbon behind the word art, and the rest of the ribbon will be in front of the word art. Now that the ribbon is in place and we have a plan for how the ribbon will weave, the next step is to shadow the ribbon. Before you start, make sure the ribbon layer is above the word art layer in the Layers panel. Also, the ribbon layer needs to be the active layer. In the Actions panel, open the Custom Shadow Black folder, click on the Custom Shadow Black action, and then click on the play icon. A dialog box will come up asking you what you want the radius of your blur to be. I'll set this radius at 5 pixels and click OK. The action should end with the Smudge tool. In the tool options of the Smudge tool, the mode should be normal. You should have a soft round brush. We'll set the size to 500 pixels to start with, and the strength to 50%. Sample all layers and finger painting should both be unchecked. In Photoshop, you would set the opacity to 50%. Then on the document, click and drag to smudge the shadows of just the main highlight areas. So I'll click and drag a little here. Then I'll reduce my brush down to about 300 pixels and click and drag here. There's also a highlight area over here that I can click and drag a little down. Then I'm going to push up right on the end a little bit. Next, reduce the size of the brush again, this time down to about 150 pixels. And I'll get this one last highlight area moving over the top of the B. Those are the only 4 areas of the shadow that we'll be adjusting. Next, we'll mask away the parts of the ribbon that should travel behind the word art. To do that, in the Layers panel, click on the ribbon layer to activate it. Then click on the Add Layer Mask icon. Next, hold down the Control key, that's the Command key on a Mac, and click on the thumbnail of the word art layer to get a selection outline around the word art. Get the brush tool. In the tool options, open the brush picker and choose a hard round brush. Set the size of the brush to 200 pixels and the opacity to 100%. The mode should be normal. And in brush settings, these are the default settings for this brush. You mostly want to make sure that the hardness is at 100% and the spacing is at 25%. Now back in the Layers panel, click on that layer mask just to make sure that it's active. Then press the letter X to make the foreground color chip black. Then on the document, click and drag to mask away parts of the ribbon that you want to appear behind the word art. So I'll click and drag here over the A. I'm also going to click up here at the top of the A. Make sure that you don't get any of this highlighted area that's moving over the top of the A and the B. Then also I'm going to move over here to the edge of the B and click and drag there as well. Those are the only places that I'm going to remove the ribbon. All the rest of the ribbon is going to appear over the word art. Now you can see that we got rid of the ribbon, but the shadow still remains. So to remove the shadow as well, hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac and click and drag on that mask and drag a copy of it down to the shadow layer of the ribbon. And then when I press Control D, Command D on a Mac to deselect, you can see that part of the ribbon looks like it's behind the word art and most of the other parts of the ribbon are above the word art. This looks pretty good, but the one thing we're missing is the shadow of the word art layer. To create that shadow, in the Layers panel, activate the word art layer. Then in the Actions panel, the Custom Shadow action should still be active. Press the play icon. In the Gaussian Blur dialog box, set the radius this time to 3 pixels and click OK. Back in the Layers panel, you can see that added a custom shadowed layer below the word art layer. There's one last problem with the shadow. The letters are shadowed, but at the place where the ribbon travels under the letters, there's no shadow showing there. Here's how we'll fix that. Hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac and click on the thumbnail of the word art layer to get a selection outline. Then in the Layers panel, click and drag the custom shadow layer of the word art to the very top of the Layers panel. Next, hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac and click on the Add Layer Mask icon. That placed a shadow here at the base of the A where the ribbon travels under, but now we have these extra shadows on the ribbon. To fix that, hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac and this time click on the thumbnail of the ribbon layer to get a selection outline. Get the brush tool. It should have the same settings as before. In the Layers panel, click on the layer mask of that top layer to make sure that it's active, and black should be the foreground color chip. With the brush tool on the document, click and drag over the areas where you want to remove that extra shadowing. So I'll click and drag over the B and the Y. Make sure not to click over this area. Then I'll click and drag over the very bottom of the A and up through the B. Make sure not to click over this area right here. And finally, I'll press Control D, Command D on a Mac to deselect, and there is the finished project. You will surely want to use this finished word art on a scrapbook page or a greeting card. So in order to keep the layers from being separated, click on that top layer to activate it, then hold down the Shift key and click on the word art layer. Now all 4 layers should be active in the Layers panel. Then click on the Link Layers icon, and now when I click on just one of those layers to activate it all by itself and get the Move tool, I can click and drag on the word art and it will all move around as one set. So that's how you weave a ribbon through word art. If you'd like to learn more about creating realistic custom shadows, look for the link to our custom shadow classes in the description of this video. This has been Jen White with Digital Scrapper.